Okay. I was waiting for the music to stop. The other song I could have played is called Feeding the Ducks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Coffee and Comms, or if you're in Europe, Wine and Comms, whatever works for you. My name is Jenna Lang, and I'm the CEO and founder of Lang International. For those of you who know us, thank you for continuing to support these little tips and tricks that we try to do every month and bi-monthly. And for those of you who do not know us, we are a boutique communications firm focusing on helping leaders with high stakes communication moments. And today, I could not be more excited to have my partner, Maria Imes from Lang International. And I'll explain that in a second. This other thing that she does, and we are showcasing her today because she does work on something else that is very high stakes from a communication standpoint, which is having conversations with our kids, specifically our teenagers. Now, we talk about empowering the next generation of women. This is not just about women, it is about us having conversations like this. They can often feel very high stakes. We are talking to, yes, our teenage daughters and empowering them and helping them. We are also talking to our teenage sons. And a lot of times we walk away from those conversations. And for those of you who know me, you know I say this a lot and say, what do I always say, Maria?
I wish I would have.
I wish I would have. Yes, I wish I would have. Now, Maria decided that she needed to do something about this. But let me tell you a little bit about Maria before we move into what we're doing today. Maria and I met 10 plus years ago. We met at a gym. We met at CrossFit. And she was doing consulting at the time with education, with schools. She'd been a teacher. And then I said, hey, I think you can do this thing at Lang International. Let's work together. And from there, 10 years ago, we have had so much fun and such a great working relationship. And I cannot tell you what a joy it's been to work with you, Maria.
Oh, well, thank you, Jenna. And I will say that I always tell people that I am doing the work that I was meant to do, and you have been the catalyst to help me do that. So I didn't know how to get here until we met that fateful day in the CrossFit gym.
And you were doing pull-ups.
Right.
Well, and Maria's other part of life, she's always been this go-to person for me personally, because aside from our work together, I've always called her to say, help me. I have this kid-related thing, and she has friends around the world doing the same thing. And I'm going to start with this first thing that we always do, because working with kids and having our own children, it is hard to breathe.
Yeah.
We talk about lift, lighten, and settle as a way to get into a moment. So let's all of us just arrive here and listen to the tips and tricks from Maria. So what we do is we inhale, lighten, think of something or someone who brings us joy, and then exhale. And for a lot of us, it might not be our teen that we imagine.
Thinking about that.
Right? Like inhale, think of something or someone that brings us joy. Maybe it's not our teen at the time, and then settle. And that ability to breathe and stay present is so important in these conversations. So here are some of the things that we're going to address that come up for a lot of folks. And I have talked to you about this a lot. How do I listen when I know my child is doing something stupid or something that I don't approve of? How am I there? How am I supportive? And how, most importantly, do I support them in these choices? So this is what we're going to talk about today. And Maria, I'm going to pass it over to you now.
Okay, well, thanks, Jenna, and hi, everybody. So I love Lang International and ... So a few years ago, I was literally standing outside in a parking lot having a conversation with another parent, and we were talking about something that was going on with her teenager. And after the conversation, she said, you're really good at this. And I was like, good at what? And this idea started to brew in my head. And I was thinking, you know what? All I'm doing is coaching. So I've been a coach for about 20 years. And these coaching strategies that I'm using every day work really well with teenagers, because it's this perfect blend of empathy and empowerment, like meeting somebody where they are, validating what they're thinking and feeling, and empowering them to solve their own problems. And so I was like, I'm going to do something with this. I've always been passionate about working with kids, and I've always been very interested in the idea of coaching. So coaching somebody or coaching a team so that there's more impact on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I got this idea for, like, what if I did something for parents? I mean, I'm having all of these one-off conversations, right?
Yeah.
So what if I package it? What if I put something together? And so that's what I've been working on the past 2 years. I have grown my media presence. I'm on TikTok and Instagram.
Oh my gosh, I know. I can't believe it. You guys are going to see this at the end. I mean, she's on TikTok. She's recording short form videos on TikTok, and they're amazing.
Well, thanks. And I wax and wane with it too, because I'm like very prolific. And then I'm like, oh, I feel like we talk about imposter syndrome, Jenna. Like I've had some imposter syndrome with this, like, why me? Like, why would somebody listen to me? And then I'm like, why not me? Why wouldn't they listen to me?
Well, I know, and you're bringing forward in a very public way all of the conversations that all your friends have had with you forever. I mean, forever. I mean, I've called you, been like, oh my gosh, I just need to vent, and then you move into coaching mode, and then I walk away, and I'm like, okay, that is what I need to do in the next conversation. Practical, so relevant, and so timely.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I've had a lot of fun working on this passion project. So it's this idea of like executive coach playbook. So how can I help parents use some coaching strategies to work with their teens and tweens? Because there are so many times that parents will call me and say, I cannot have a conversation with my kid. It always ends up going sideways. We're not connecting. And there are ways that you can get into a conversation where you're not shutting it down.
Mm-hmm. So, should we do one before we get into some of these tips? Okay. Because we love to role play, Maria. Yeah. We love it. So I'm going to be the teen, and I'm going to bring a scenario forward. Now, let me give you some background to this before we get into the role play.
Okay.
I want you to imagine that your teenager is not doing well in math.
Okay.
So that's the scenario. They're not doing well in math. And you've heard like little snippets here and there that the teacher is the reason why. Okay.
Always.
So now we're in conversation, and I am the teenager, and I'm talking to my mom.
Okay.
I hate my math teacher. Ugh, hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. It's like, I mean, that's the reason why I'm not doing well in math. Is because they don't know how to teach.
Huh. So it sounds like you're super frustrated about what's going on in math right now.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not just me. It's like everybody, all my friends, like none of us, like, I mean, we're like not learning.
So what's your plan?
Scene.
And scene. I feel like we could have had that conversation. I feel like I have had that conversation in my house, right? Yes. Whether it's math, whether it's something else. I remember, like, just the other day, Mia got in the car and she was like, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is terrible, and this is, and it's this idea of how can you just show up? So that, like you have here, right? Like listen and be supportive. And then how do you empower your teen to make their own decisions? And I think about this idea of like when your teenager is learning how to drive, you don't just like put them in the driver's seat. I know Sienna's about to get her permit, right?
I know. Yes. So scary.
So scary and so amazing. And you sit in the passenger seat. And coaching is very similar. You're in the passenger seat, so you haven't abandoned them, but you're also not wanting to like reach over and grab the wheel, because
such a good analogy,
right? Like what happens so often is, okay, so you come into that conversation about math and it's like, oh, this is horrible and I hate my math teacher. And what I see parents doing time and time again is saying, well, do you want to email your teacher? Do you want to do this? What about doing this? You know, if I were you, I should do this. And it like shuts them down. It sounds like judgment. That's the biggest thing. Teenagers, they hate feeling judged. especially by their parents, and they're very sensitive to it because their confidence levels are dropping. And especially with our teenage girls, they're really struggling right now.
I love that, Maria. And there's two things that you did that I want to point out. They come so naturally to you, and I've had to work hard at them, and I don't do a great job in them all the time. Maria, I think like 8 years ago, gave you the Silly as that is, it works. You're sitting there, you don't contribute, you don't ask questions. Another tip you gave me was don't ask about the players involved in the scene. We want to, particularly as women, we want to be like, well, which friends don't do it? And what do they say? What do their parents say? Like, we get engaged.
Right.
No, that's not our job. We sit and we say, And the other thing you did is you didn't solve the problem. You say, what's your plan? So hard. For all of you that are listening right now, so hard. We feel like, we have changed their diapers, we fed them, we did everything for them, and all of a sudden we don't get to do it.
Yeah.
That's our job, is to not do it.
And there's so much friction that happens because for so long we have been doing it. We've been like their manager, their handler, right? We're signing them up for things, we're managing things. And at this age, we need to move into the role of coach. And that's really challenging for parents. But, to your first point around just saying like, it's like this idea of just listening, just being fully present and listening to what's not being said too. I had a friend call me last night and said, this is what I'm noticing. And even if your kid isn't saying things, you can still listen. Does that make sense? You can still be aware of what's going on. And you can bring that up with them. So listening and not deciding to become a private investigator. That right? Like asking all of those questions.
I know.
And getting into the weeds.
And you have some great tips, Maria, on TikTok and Instagram for dads. Because I love that too, because the moms, we feel like, okay, well, we feel and see and intuit things, right? We've had these children inside of us, right? So we feel things. And then for the dads, like, how did they move out of problem solving mode? So I love that. Should we move to the next slide where you give some practical tips?
Yeah, let's move to the next slide. And that first tip really is what has changed in our household from my husband's mouth. So Mia finally got to the point where she was like, Dad, if you ask me how was my day one more time when I come in the door, I'm going to freak out. I mean, she literally had to tell him, because you're not going to get the answer that you want. Your teenager's not going to be like, oh, let me give you the rundown, right? So this is a quick switch. So this slide is all about, instead of, you could do this instead, just smile and say, I'm happy to see you. I can't wait to hear about your day, right? So greet them with a lot of positivity. This one, why did you do that? That's got judgment written all over it. I love, walk me through your thinking. And there you can do a lot of coaching. So
Maria, you say that all the time. You say that to me all the time. You say that to me all the time. I your DNA.
I think so. It is. It's like the fabric of who I am. But I love this because teenagers have a hard time seeing what we call like second and third order consequences, right? They just see what's right in front of them. And so when you get them to walk them through their thinking, like you could say, oh yeah, I didn't think about it that way. I didn't think that would happen. I love this one. This is a great coaching move. Instead of saying anything else, when they're talking, say what else? And that prompts them to keep going. It suggests that they have more to say. This is a big one. I've got my first podcast I did was all about advice and why it doesn't work. And it's because this should, when we should our kids, they absolutely hate that. So like, you really should, or if I were you, I would. Here's your favorite one, Jenna. Try and wait. I could have said like, try and stop talking. Don't say much. You don't need to say much. And then the last one, it's like, we were all teenagers and we've got stories that we can share. And there's a time and a place for that. And, my kids, they love some of my greatest hits. But when they're talking and when they're talking about something that's on their mind, just show them that you're listening by doing that vocalizing, and turn your body towards them. One of the things that I talk to a lot of parents about is our kids hate being judged, but they're really good at judging us. I mean, they're so critical, right? So if you're like, you're
So
always
true.
on your phone, they're going to be like, you're always on your phone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when we're listening to them, it's like, I'm not doing anything else. I am fully listening. I'm
Which
showing
is
you that I'm
hard,
listening.
which is hard. It's
It's
hard,
hard.
yet they notice that, and the percentage, I mean, they might be on their phone 100% of the time. If we're on 10% of the time,
Oh,
it feels like 100% of the time for them.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. And they just pick up on it and they want our attention. And so how can we show them that we are available for them to come talk to us?
Yeah, and this judgment thing you mentioned, you've said this a couple times about us judging, and it is so hard. And a lot of you on this call might be thinking, okay, wait a second. I do this at work. I have been through coaching. I'm a manager, I'm a leader. I know how to do this with my team. And hopefully, you're having this aha moment of guess what? You can try this at home. You can
Yeah.
try this at home. And this idea that we suspend judgment while we're listening to one of our employees talk about something, we get that. But do we do the same thing with our kids? No, we don't, because we push so much of our own values and motivators and
Mhm.
aspirations and everything onto these children because they're our children. They
Yeah.
represent us, they're our legacy.
And
So it becomes hard.
it's not that we don't have good intentions in mind.
Yeah.
Like, we think, oh, these are the best intentions, but instead we are taking away their power when we rush in and try to overparent them.
Yeah. And the thing that I think is so interesting too is the idea that we it will radically change the relationship and you will get them to open up. Because one of the things you talk about is if your teenager is not talking to you, it's not them, it's you. Now
Yes.
that's hard because a lot of, I mean, but it's hard. I mean, that's like gut punch because a lot of us were, I mean, I'm not going to say a lot of us because we have a lot of people from all different, decades, etc. But we come from different backgrounds where our parents didn't necessarily listen,
Yeah.
and we didn't have that kind of relationship with them. So we're having to break patterns of
Yeah.
what we saw growing up, which that's tough.
It's really hard. And I love that you brought that up. And that's this idea that I've been playing with. I put that out on Instagram, like your teenager doesn't talk to you. It's not them, it's you. And it went viral. And what I love about what happened was the conversation in the comments. So there were parents chiming in, like, yes, I need to take ownership here. I'm creating unintentional boundaries and barriers. And the teenagers that were jumping into the comments saying, I wish I could send this to my parents.
Oh my
But
gosh,
they
I'm gonna
they
cry.
yell at me, they do this, they do that. And so it's resonating with both, right? And so this idea of accountability, there was one I don't know, TikTok I did around like, do you apologize to your kids? Like if you've made a mistake, do you apologize? And to your point, Jenna, I my parents were fantastic parents. I did not hear them say I'm sorry
No.
once.
Never, never. I just did last night.
Yeah.
I said I was sorry like 15 times to my daughter for something that I did wrong. And I also said I don't expect to be forgiven. Like I don't expect for you to come back and be like, it's okay, mom. And that was one of the coffees and comes I just did last week too, which is
Yeah.
when we apologize for something we did wrong, we can't expect that they say it's okay. We have to let it go. That's hard. Well,
Well,
you probably want more. And guess what? You can have more. So this is these tips. Maria has them available on TikTok. She has them on Instagram. You can use this QR code to access all this information. They're quick tips that will help you with these moments. The more you listen, the more you take in. Listen, as a person who has Maria at like a phone call away, I use many apps to get in touch with you, Maria.
yes.
I think we're
Yes.
on. I'm like I'm DMing you. I'm WhatsApp. We talk a lot. And so she's available to me, but you might not have Maria available to you like I do. And I'm sorry for all of you who don't have Maria available to you like I do, but you can get a lot of these tips and tricks in these short form videos, and they are amazing. I'm not saying that you'll all be radically changed after doing it. I'm still working on it, but work in progress. That's what we're up for. That's what we're up for. So thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you.
Oh, likewise. Yes, of course. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, check it out. I want us to all get better at this as a way to empower this next generation of female leaders and our sons.
Thank you. Bye.